Hello there, you're watching WilhelMiniatures. In this episode I will make some Skitarii Vanguards for my Dark Mechanicus army. I will be using the Skitarii kit along with the Traitor Guard from Warhammer Quest Blackstone Fortress, Dark Eldar racks, and some of the kits that I've used so far. I'm planning to use the bodies of the Traitor Guard miniatures to make my Skitarii. I want the leader of the squad to be a little bigger than the other Skitarii, so for that I am using this Beastman, which is also included in the Blackstone Fortress kit. I will be using weapons, backpacks, and legs from the Skitarii kit. I'm going to use the masks or the heads of the Dark Eldar racks, and why I'm choosing to use these is that they actually look very similar to the Blight King masks. Okay then, let's start building. As usual, I will be using thick superglue to build my miniatures and some superglue accelerator to speed up the drying process. Here I have found this one Traitor Guard, which has a very similar pose to one of the Skitarii that I am going to merge it with. You can see that the legs are very similar, and they also both aim their guns, so I think that's going to be very easy to merge. I don't think I want all this fur to be here. I think it's a little over the top, so I'm going to start by removing some details from this Traitor Guard body. Let's start out with the legs. They are almost the identical pose, which makes this very simple. So I want to cut her legs under the knee and replace them with these mechanical ones. Look at that. Perfect. I think that was a great fit with the legs, actually. It's the same pose. I made her a little bit taller, and I think she looks, very good. So, I want to exchange the head, so I'm going to just snip it off and see if one of the rack heads will work. Might be a little big, but I think it's going to work. Especially as I made her a little bit taller. Okay, I think I'm going to remove her arms completely and then see if I can attach these arms instead. This made a little bit of a gap back here, but I think her shoulder is the correct width, so I'll just fill that with something or maybe add another shoulder pad on top. Today I will make 5 different ones, or like 4 with the rifle and 1 leader. So for now I think I'm going to put this one aside and start on the next before moving on to deciding what I want to do with the backpacks, details, maybe add some fabric. We'll see. Alright, let's do another one. One thing that I found out, sadly, is that I only have 3 legs left from the Skitarii kit. I have obviously thought that these are very nice legs as they are and used them for previous conversions. So I will need to spread them out a little bit, and yeah, some of them might end up with boots and some of them might end up with only 1 mechanical leg, but that should be fine as well. So this big hole, I'm just going to fill it with a little bit of super glue in case I'm not covering it up later and forget about it, because it's going to be behind the gun. So that's not the best placement for a hole. Having 2 hands holding a gun on a miniature that's not supposed to have these arms are quite tricky. So, because the shoulders are of course not the correct dimension, or not separated correctly apart. And also I glued it to my finger, but it looks like it worked. I'm still giving this 1 mechanical leg because I think these 2 fit quite nicely together, while yeah, these two don't, so I hope the other ones can use the leg that I will have left. But I think it's going to work with only one mechanical leg on this one. Let's give this one the double head. It's quite cool. The one with a super tiny head beside the other one, with matching faceplates. I really like this bit. It's cool. They have like a chaosy Skitarii feel, I think. The helmets are still a little bit dark Eldar looking, but if I paint them like a white or bone color, I think it's going to look more like a Nurgle faceplate. Let's start working on the leader. Okay, that looks quite good. So the leader is supposed to have a close combat weapon and some sort of pistol. Right, here are the pistols and the close combat weapons. Ooh, I kind of like this one. It looks like the rifles, but it's a lot smaller, so looks like a very standard pistol, actually. It's a very good size for it. Oh, he would be quite cool if he was like dual wielding with the pistol that is already got. But yeah, no, I think I want to be able to use these in games at some point, so I'll give him one pistol and one close combat weapon. And this is actually a bionic arm, but as this one's got bandages, the pieces fit quite nicely together, because then the rest, or like the seam between the bionic and the fleshy part, can just be bandaged. Or then again, it looks really cool with two pistols. Maybe this is the way to go. I had a look through the close combat weapons of the racks, and I think these three options are my favorite. Of course, these two are duplicates, or they're supposed to be one in each hand. Very cool. That would, of course, be a very nice kit bash as well, using both of these. So I might make another one, because I have 4 of this body, or yeah, 2 different types, but one more exactly like this. Ooh, what I could do actually is keep the elbow on this one and just give it a very long, weird arm with two like joints. Again, hiding the seam with the bandage. I actually think I'm going to do that. That looks cool. That's going to be super creepy. Having like, oops, and I lost it on the floor. So try to cut it above the elbow here, and then take the entire hand. Nice. The leader of the Vanguard has a very nice crest on his helmet. So I want to use this crest on my leader instead. Now it's just a question of getting it in the center. Nice. I think the leader of the squad is starting to come together. Of course, we need to add some details, cables, and I think I want to add some fabric to these. These legs match up quite nicely, so let's just start there. I really wish I had more of these legs. I'm not sure what I did with the rest of them. They might, of course, just be in a bits box somewhere, so yeah. Actually, now that I look at it, these 2 legs also match up quite nice, even though this is like a running pair. So if I just make the ground a little uneven, I think that's going to look good. So I want to use that one here. This pose looks very good for having the rifle on her shoulder like this, resting the rifle. However, the only rifle I could find in this pose was this long and thin one, which is not the Vanguard gun. So I need to do a little bit of kit bashing to make this gun look more similar to the others. So back here she had this cape thing made of chainmail, which is very impractical. So what I'm going to do is add, but yeah, I like the shape of it. So I'm going to add some fabric on top of it to make it like a proper cape or proper robe thing. I have 3 regular Skitarii Vanguard and 1 leader. So what I think is missing now is to make one with a heavy weapon. The Skitarii heavy weapons are enormous. So I think I want to find a bigger body for my heavy weapon expert for this squad. I think I want to go with a plasma gun looking weapon, as it's a quite nice design. And for the body, I think I want to use a Blight King. Here, I'm just removing some of the tentacles and teeth on the belly of this one. I don't want my Skitarii to look too Nurgle infected. I want them to be... the blessings of Nurgle are kind of saved to the better squads, or like the better units, I think. So the Rust Stalkers and the Battle Servitors are getting more Nurgle blessings than these ones. So I want to make even the big one a little less Nurgly looking. These arms doesn't fit the body too well, and the reason for that, I think, is because the hands are too close together for this large bloated body. So I think I will need to extend them a little bit. Firstly, we have this big hole. I think I'm going to cover it up with some fabric later, but for now I'm just going to fill it with some glue in case any part of it will be visible. I think I'm just going to glue the gun in the appropriate place and then make the arms and the shoulders to fit it later. I think I'm actually going to use the shoulders that this one is supposed to have. And I trimmed it down a little bit all the way up, so that he's got quite narrow shoulders, even though he's got a giant body, and I think that works. Maybe I can even add a double mechanical arm, like this, so that the one arm goes into the other. Alright. I think that does it for one side, so now I just need to find something to put in between here on the other side as well. The heavy gunner also needs a head, so I'm just going to attach one of the ones from the racks. Looking at these beside each other, I think the legs are too big on this one. I kind of want it to be like really big in the center, like it's bloated in the center mass to be able to carry this huge gun. But I want the legs to be smaller. And for that, I think I can use one of the tiny legs left over from the others. I couldn't find an appropriately sized bionic leg, so here I'm just attaching the other small boot. I like the look of the small legs. Kind of makes it look like the big part is very centered on a miniature, as if it's blown up like a balloon. But it still feels a little bit unbalanced, so I was thinking that I could maybe add a third leg for support. I'm not sure if it's going to be on the final miniature, but I'll leave it for now, and then we'll see when everything comes together. It's going to be easy just to snap it off if I change my mind. But for now, 3 legs are better than 2. Now the fun part begins, as I'm going to add some details onto my miniatures, even though I didn't want these to be overly nerglified. I still want them to look very tattered and chaotic, so I will add some robes to them. And to do that, I will use some actual fabric. This is an old t-shirt that Rebecca cut into a crop top that I've had in my box for years. Of course, when you do things in this scale, you don't use much, so a little piece of a t-shirt or a sock will get you a long way. The important thing is just to find the fabric where you can see kind of the woven texture, because this is something you want to use. I've also got some kitchen thread that I will use to add some additional details. I want to follow the woven lines a little bit, because this is the texture that's going to be visible when I start dry brushing. I'm just finding a piece that's the correct size. This is way too big. Okay, so first I'm going to glue it in place with super glue. And here I'm just attaching the top. It looks too nice down there, so I want to tear it up a bit. For that I'm using my clippers, just ripping the fabric like this. It's actually much easier to do this before gluing it on, so yeah, I should have done that. To secure it in place and attach it the way I want it, I'm going to use some watered down PVA glue, or Mod Podge in this case. First I'm just taking a little bit of Mod Podge and dipping my brush in water. The fabric will immediately absorb this mix. And when it dries, it will be solid in this, the pose with the side. To have it appear more tattered, I can also add it in layers. And now that we have this one layer of fabric with glue on it, we can just lay the other fabric on top and add some more glue and water to it. Adding the scarves were a little fiddly, but a lot of fun. Kind of like dolling up the miniatures. It's possible to move the scarf around a little bit, even after applying the glue, because it takes a while to dry. And actually it's easier to control it when it's soaked with water and glue. Now is also a good time to kind of press in some folds, if you want that somewhere. Yeah, this is fun. I think it was a good plan to go with more of a classic chaos and this post-apocalyptic sci-fi look, instead of having them all nerdified, to have a little variation in my force. The glue in the fabric is dry, so now these clothing parts like the scarves and the capes are completely hard. Now I want to add some additional details to these, especially around the legs, because the transition between the pant and the new mechanical legs are not that smooth. So what I'm going to do is take some thread. I've cut off a piece here, and this is of course too thick to be applied. So what I'm going to do is split the hairs on this one to get them down to a thickness that I think is appropriate. Like this one, I think is good. So if I hold this one up to the miniature, you can see that that's a good size for a rope in the 28mm scale. I'm going to apply these threads in the same way as I applied the old pieces of t-shirt. So let's do this leg first. I need to secure one of the ends, and for that I'm using a little drop of super glue. Using the thin super glue this time to have a little more control. And I want to secure the side somewhere where it's not too visible, because the The seam is not the nicest. When that's more or less in place, I'm going to wrap it around the seam. This would have been easier to do before attaching the miniature to its base. But yeah, one cannot think of everything before doing it. Okay, I think this is a good start. So it's basically just wrapping some bandages between the pants and the new leg. And I will again secure it with some watered down Mod Podge. So here I just have some Mod Podge on my brush. I dip it in a little bit of water, and then I come in to secure it in place. The edge here I just want to hide by kind of laying it, just laying it back over itself so that I don't have a very clear edge or end of the thread. End is the word. Anyway, there we have it, I think. So one thing that was much smarter than using the tweezers is to use this dentist tool to get my rope around the legs. That was a lot quicker. The threads are in place, and I think it turned out very cool. I especially like this extra bandage that I added to the long creepy arm of the leader. It really tied the two bits together. The last thing to do is to texture the bases. Here I have my pot of Mod Podge and some garden earth. Now this Skitarii Vanguard for my Dark Mechanicum army is finished. Which means that we have reached the end of the video. In an upcoming Dark Mechanicum episode on the channel, I will paint these, and I'm really looking forward to that. They don't have as much exposed skin as the previous miniatures I've done for my Nurgle Dark Mechanicum army, so it's going to be interesting to find out how to paint these, find a good color scheme for them that will tie them together with the others. Please like and subscribe and all that, and I will see you guys in the next one.